Hey everyone, what's up? Welcome back to the DT Sports Report. I bet you guys thought we got canceled, but really we just took a couple weeks off, and now we're back. A lot's happened since we've been gone. Taylor Potts went down in the New Mexico game. Steven Sheffield stepped in admirably. 7 touchdowns against Kansas State, and a big win against Nebraska this past weekend. Now it looks like he's out with a foot injury, and Taylor Potts is back at the helm for the game against A&M.
The last time we saw Taylor Potts, it was 7-7 against New Mexico 3 weeks ago in the second quarter. Lots of people were questioning his decision-making skills, his lack of mobility. This obviously wasn't the same Taylor Potts we saw in a 34-24 loss against Texas. He looked great earlier in the season, and now he has a chance to come back and redeem himself against a very vulnerable Texas A&M defense.
Yeah, you know, A&M's got Von Miller on that defensive line, but he's about the only name we've really heard about in the A&M defense. Are they that bad? Does the Aggie defense have that many holes?
Right now, I think they do, but when you look at the Kansas State game, Coach Leach called it the floodgates. The floodgates just opened, and it was just one thing after another. I think this A&M defense really has to look at that game and find mistakes. There's going to be plenty of mistakes to build from, and I think you'll see against Texas Tech, they're going to try to refine their confidence that they lost from earlier this season.
Now, of course, with what Tech did to Kansas State and what Kansas State did to A&M, a lot of fans are saying, maybe we'll set a new touchdown record. Maybe this will be a huge blowout. Do you think it'll be like that?
I don't think it'll be a huge blowout, but I do think Tech will probably win by 17, 21 points. A&M definitely going to come into this game, has a lot of questions on defense. They're giving up 196 rushing yards in their past 3 games. Started off the season 3-0. They're 0-3 in their past 3. So Mike Sherman definitely trying to kind of fiddle with his club and see if they can get this whole mental lapse out of there.
Well, if it's a mental game, the past history certainly won't help any. A&M's going for their first win here in the past 7 games. Haven't won since 1993 in Lubbock. That's a long time to go without a victory in what most people think of as a rivalry game. The Jones should be hopping, expecting a crowd of around 60,000 thanks to the new stadium expansion. Should set a record. So be a tough place to play, in addition to the fact that the Red Raiders look like a really tough team. And in the Nebraska game, they showed they can do it on defense as well.
Right, that defense absolutely looked like something Mike Leach has never had before. It just keeps growing and growing by the week. You look at last year what they had turnovers, sacks. This year they have plenty of sacks. They actually might finish with more sacks than they had last year. This is a very aggressive defense, attacking style, as Daniel Howard called it after the Nebraska game. They actually finally had a defensive touchdown, something they hadn't had this year. Mm-hmm. So, you know, we're looking at a different Tech defense, a defense that could win you a game in the Big 12, and that's saying something compared to, you know, when you look at what Leach has had.
Yeah, defenses of the past haven't been able to win you that game, but now under Ruffin, it looks like the defense is going on the right track. Let's go ahead and go to the stock report where we tell you who we like the performance of lately and who we need to see more of. I'll go ahead and go first.
Okay.
My up this week is Brandon Sharp. He had a great game against Nebraska with 4 sacks. He's had 7 sacks in the last 3 games. He had a pass deflection as well against Nebraska. He's all over the place on that line. Kind of came out of nowhere. Didn't even play in the first couple games against Texas. Was out, of course.
Injury.
And Big 12 Co-Defensive Player of the Week this week. I like what he's doing so far. Sharp, very strong so far.
For me, I'm going to go on the opposite side of the ball. Person that is on the up for me is DeAndre Lewis. You know, somebody who kind of disappeared after his first couple games against North Dakota and whatnot, and then now he's had 2 back-to-back 100-yard games. Had a 58-yard reception against Nebraska. Looks like he might be picking it up a little bit.
All right, now we'll talk about the players we want to see more from. On the downside, I'm going with LaRon Moore. I know we got 4 tackles against Nebraska, but the pace he started the season at, he really looked almost as good as Jamal Wall did on the opposite corner, which was a big question going into the season. Would whoever was opposite Wall do well? He did very well. Career high in tackles against Rice was 6, had some pass deflections and interception against Texas. That's the form I want to see from LaRon Moore, and I think he has it in him. I just think it's going to take a little more to get there.
Now, on the defensive line for me, I'm looking at Colby Whitlock. Now, I know Whitlock is always going to be a disruptor. He's a guy that is kind of in the background all the time because he makes things happen for guys on the end. But I'd like to see the Colby Whitlock that we saw against Texas last year. Had the safety, the sack, he gave Colt McCoy a bloody lip. You know, the guy who was getting in the backfield and making plays. I want to see that Colby Whitlock.
Well, we'll see hopefully that against A&M for the Red Raiders. Of course, the game is at 6 o'clock and it's not on TV. So make sure you watch dailytoyota.com's highlights and videos. We'll have it all for you, of course. Texas Tech soccer, they won't be at home anymore. They've got some tough games this weekend on the road, trying to get that Big 12 tournament berth. We'll let you know all about that next week. little shorter show this week because we're trying to get back in the swing of things. We hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you guys next week.